Hello again, YouTube. It's Skylar. Welcome back to my face. And in today's video, I'm going to be discussing some of the techniques that I use to help cope with my dysphoria. Now, transgender people experience dysphoria, which is a deep depression and anxiety that stems from things that are gender related. I've already made a video on this. You can go check that out. It's in my channel. But today I'm going to be discussing how I personally deal with some of my dysphoria on a day-to-day basis. Now, the reason transgender people transition is to alleviate this dysphoria. However, throughout a transgender person's transition, and sometimes even afterwards, they still experience some mild dysphoria. And I've recognized this as what I call dysphoric flare-ups. And I think that's an appropriate way to describe it because just like an anxiety attack or a panic attack, it has its trigger that makes you feel that way, and then you have to learn to cope and deal with that so you can get through your day. Now, naturally, as a transgender person transitions, their dysphoria naturally goes away. That's the whole point. But there are still some times where the dysphoric symptoms still show up because you're still transitioning, so you're not all the way there yet. And I know a lot of the time, me personally, this can happen usually when I'm in public and I either use the restroom, and most restrooms have mirrors, so there are some times where I'll look in the mirror and my makeup will be messed up or something will be off a little bit, and it really gives me anxiety because I have the realization that I'm trans, and that brings up my dysphoria. Some of the things that I've learned to deal with are using breathing techniques. Now, this is so important, and a lot of counselors and therapists will tell you to use this technique. It's also a part of cognitive behavioral therapy. I am not a doctor. This is not a health show. Please discuss with your doctor if you have any information that you need to know related to health. But what I do is I just close my eyes for about 30 seconds and I take deep breaths in and out slowly. And this helps bring down my heart rate and my blood pressure so that I don't have a full-on panic attack. And this is a technique that's used by people that just suffer from general anxiety disorder, not just people that are trans. And it's a very effective tool to help mitigate the stress from an oncoming panic attack. Now, some of the other things that I do are distraction. Distraction really helps. While that sounds like it's avoidance, it's not, because in the situation where you're experiencing momentary dysphoria, distraction is actually the best thing to do. So if I'm at home and I suddenly start to feel like I'm having a dysphoric flare-up, what I'll usually tend to do is distract myself either with something that'll help me forget about it. So I'll usually, turn off the internet, stay away from anything that, and just kind of focus on stuff like cooking or cleaning the house or just general things that have very little thought to them. And this is good just to have a repetitive practice that you can kind of let your mind just go blank. Not really, but it kind of distracts you because you're focusing on the direct task at hand. So like when I'm washing dishes, that usually helps me the best when I'm having a flare-up at home because I'm focusing on cleaning the dishes and not about gender or my gender identity. And that kind of helps alleviate that stress. Some other things that I do if it gets to the point where I feel as though I'm going to have a panic attack, I'll definitely make sure to like call a friend or call my counselor, or make sure that you always remember to try to talk to somebody, because it can take several hours sometimes if I go into full-on panic attack, and it's just a lot easier to mitigate it if you recognize it before you go on into full-on anxiety mode. Now, that being said, since I've started my transition, since I've started hormones, my panic attacks with dysphoria have become both less severe and less frequent, and the things that I'm dysphoric about are not the same things that I was dysphoric about before. So things relating to my hair, as I mentioned in a previous video, my HRT has regrown a lot, too close to all of my hair that had suffered from male pattern baldness. And this has tremendously helped with my dysphoria. At this time, I still wear this wig, but my hair is naturally growing out, and I would hope that in the coming months that I will no longer require it, because my hair will be a natural length. And other things like that. So there are some that are really hard to deal with. Some of my flare-ups typically revolve around the things that I can't directly control. So in preparation for my reconstructive surgeries, such as my facial reconstructive surgery, which is called facial feminization surgery, that usually is a lot harder to deal with because it's not something that I can directly control. So when it comes to those things, it's something that I have to cope with, just dealing with the waiting part of it. But again, using the breathing techniques really helps, especially when I'm looking in the mirror and I have a flare-up. Mirrors are really bad for transgender people. Like, transgender, I'm pretty sure most transgender people will agree that mirrors or other reflective surfaces are probably the worst enemies, because that's what tends to trigger a transgender person's dysphoria the most. So honestly, I have a love-hate relationship with mirrors. I like them when I look less dysphoric, and I hate them when I look more dysphoric. Naturally, when I do these videos, I always have a little window open on my computer where I can see myself and I feel fine. But that only lasts while I look more female than not. So it's easier for me to feel less dysphoric when I look more like a woman. So without rambling on for too long, I'm about to go over my time here on this video. I hope that was helpful information for anyone out there who is considering transitioning, or someone who's already on the path to transitioning, to help mitigate the stresses that come with that, because dysphoria doesn't just magically disappear as soon as you start transitioning. It's something that you still have to work through and try to overcome through your transition until you feel almost no dysphoria at all. And that's pretty much when you've completed your transition. So with that said, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Please remember, if you have any real health questions, to ask your doctor. Again, this is not a health video. Do not rely on this video or any of my other videos for health-related information or advice. And until tomorrow, I will see you all in the next video. Bye.